Well, hello, all my amazing friends. My name is SherriAnneDuffy-King, and I'm the writer and the author of the Title of a Crucified Innocent series. And in this book, this is book 3, all right? But if you clicked on this video to listen to this book, that's great, okay? But make sure that you've checked out all the other books too before you get to this one. Otherwise, this is not going to make much sense, okay? So book 1 is Tale of a Crucified Innocents. All the videos are up. Book 2 is The Prince in the Mirror, and all those are up. All right, now let's get going on book 3, Wyler's Waterdweller Secrets. Okay, chapter 1. Are we ready for chapter 1? A day like no other. Also, if you hear noise in the background, I apologize. Let's get going. This morning, Riley woke up wondering what the day would bring. Would she finally prove to Arlene and Eliza that she could belong in their school pride council clique? Today, things were about to change for her, but Riley would never realize the change before it was too late. The fall sun crept through the clouds to light up Rosemont Peak Boarding Academy. The ancient 200-year-old structure stood tall and frazzled from all those years of neglect. Barbarous trees lined the street in front of the building. Riley wasn't but maybe a couple of feet in the arched door frame when Eliza and Arlene crept up next to her and gave her a hug. "Riley, pool party at midnight tonight, come." Riley watched as Arlene's eyes twinkled in desperation. Okay." Both Eliza and Arlene hugged Riley once more. "Great, see you tonight," and dashed off, leaving Riley to stare off at the blonde twins in astonishment. Ding! Ding! The bell rang in loud. Riley rushed to her first period class, which was athletic swimming. The locker room was dark, and yet very few inhabitants slunk through the room without a frown of disapproval of the early morning exercise. Only an hour and a half, and they would move to the next class. Riley whistled a jaunty tune, wishing that things would be a bit easier on her. Maybe she would fall in love with some unsuspecting boy at the pool party. Oh. Maybe even find a high school sweetheart. Get married and have a little family of her own. Happily ever after. Only if life were really like that. Riley rushed to slip on her blue two-piece swimsuit and an open-neck, large white t-shirt. Then she headed to the pool. The sun lit the swimming pool on fire, making everything sparkle. Huge bay windows stretched beyond the swimming pool and gave a spectacular view of the concrete balcony covered in green shrubbery beyond the double bay doors. The view felt refreshing, as if it would never end. Riley stood in amazement at the beauty that this room held for her. Other than the enormous library, the coach, Miss Ames, was homesick, and her replacement was a tall and tan gentleman whose name was Mr. Felix Kroger, whom he told the students to address him by his first name. The class was called to attention as the roll was being called. "Settle down, kids. Come now. Today your Mrs. Ames has taken ill. So please behave and enjoy a free day at the pool. Just stay in this room and be good for the remainder of the time." No one asked Mr. Kroger questions, which saved time. Riley crept to the deep end of the pool and sat at the edge, her feet dangling ever so gently through the comforting waves. Slowly, Riley thought of the party that would be at this same pool tonight. Her mind flickered to unimaginable possibilities. "Riley E. Wyler?" called Mr. Kroger, the sub. Riley glanced up at the handsome villain. "Yes, Mr. Kroger?" He walked over to her. "Miss Riley, I was just checking roll and you seem to be here, which is fantastic." Riley smiled and shook her head, unsure of where this conversation was going. "Yes, I do seem to be here. Thank you for noticing." The substitute jumped to his feet, giving her a genuine smile, and continued roll call. Riley closed her eyes, letting the sun warm her chilled flesh, making her strawberry blonde curls dance about her head as she continued to relax her body. Out from behind her crept a tall boy, jet black hair, whom slid his legs around her. so they would rest in the water. Riley opened her eyes in alarm and found it was Taylor. Sorry, it's Taylor. It's been a while since I read this. What are you doing? Oh, nothing I don't want to do, but I sure want you, Riley. Don't be a tease. Let me have you. He whispered past her curled tendrils toward her ear. Then Taylor started to touch Riley all over, grasping flesh that wasn't meant for him to grasp. No! Taylor leaned closer, the pressure of his trunks pressing against Riley's lower back. So you're saying no, don't stop, eh? Now Taylor was groping Riley's breast and squeezing them. The more he tortured Riley, Riley could feel him getting excited. It turned her stomach sour. Riley tried to push away, but Taylor wouldn't release her. From across the room, Arlene and Eliza sat quietly, with nasty smirks on their faces. Let go of me, Taylor. Please let me go. He still refused to obey, loving every minute of torturing Riley. Something in the corner of Riley's eyes moved beneath the water. She wasn't sure of what she was seeing. The water jumped over Taylor's feet again, as if two invisible hands grasped and tried to swim to the surface. But the thing that pulled Taylor under the water was holding him, and Taylor was holding tightly onto Riley, not releasing her. Tom jumped into the water and helped pull Riley up out of the pool, setting her on the ledge where Mr. Kroger administered CPR on her. Whatever that was that held onto Taylor let him go and went dormant under the surface, watched Riley and waited to see if she was all right. Riley felt eyes all over her, even from the vacant-looking pool. The first sight she saw was Mr. Kroger pulling his lips from hers. As he went back down to give her another breath of his air, Riley put her hand up to catch his chest from coming any closer. He smiled and helped her sit up. The bell rang and she left to change clothes and make her way to her next class. She grabbed her portfolio and headed to mythical studies. The rest of the day went fast, as she wasn't sure of all the strict faces of anguish and disappointment when she sat with Eliza and Arlene at lunch. The silence made Riley uneasy. During her free period, Riley rushed back to the pool, which seemed more dull and quiet than before. Mr. Kroger? Felix! Riley called out, but didn't get an answer.
Oh, shit.
Ignore the sound effects. That's not a part of it, okay? Riley called out, but didn't get an answer. Riley knocked on the door and was astonished as he had answered. He grabbed Riley's arm so quick and pulled her into the dark office so quick that her head was spinning. Riley's eyes took a few minutes to adjust to the darkness. Ha! You came. I knew you would come. That we were somehow connected. You do care. What? Mr. Kroger, I was just stopping by to thank you for helping save my life earlier. Felix was blocking out her words and adding his own demented words to her lips. Shh. He put his index finger on her lips and continued. It doesn't matter. No one will ever find out. We can be together. Then Felix rushed Riley, pressed her hard against the desk. Pencils and papers were scattered beneath her. His hold got tighter. Riley reached up and pulled his hair so hard that he jerked back in excitement. Ah, yeah. I like that.
There's no way I'm getting over to you.
That's not a part of the book. When that didn't work, Riley reached behind him. She grabbed a dull pencil. Oh, behind her, not him. She grabbed a dull pencil, pulling it up high and stabbing him hard. He jumped back and stood for a moment. Then he rushed her again. Riley planned her next move with expertise decisions. She kicked him hard and knocked him down on the ground, where he stumbled about in agony. The laughing is not a part of it either. Riley, please, but please, give me a chance to show you how I feel. Riley didn't give him the time of day as she grasped frantically for the doorknob, then left the room. You are a teacher. Learn your place, you vile imbecile. Then she sprinted from the room, jogging along the poolside, stopping instantly because she thought she saw something looking up at her. But her nerves had had the better of her. Riley rushed to fix her curls and straighten up her uniform. Then she slid out the side door into the evening air. Autumn leaves fell majestically about her as she walked to her dorm room. Today's harassment would not hold her back from her potential. When Riley got to her room, she changed into something more comfortable for her first pool party. A two-piece black lace swimsuit, jean skirt, and tie-dye blue, purple, and white loose tank top, the enlarged neck hole dangling off one arm. She was fashionably modest. Riley glanced into the mirror, gaining an immense shiver up her spine as she walked out of the door, toward Rosemont Peak Boarding Academy, toward a chilling destiny yet to be acquired. Chapter 2. Are you ready for this? Unexpected Destiny. The school was dark, other than the flashing emergency lights that were a boring orange glare. Riley loosened her grip on her lavender towel. The outside double doors were cracked open with an empty whiskey bottle. Riley crept through the hall slowly until she reached another set of double doors to the pool. She took a huge gulp of air and pulled the doors open. Inside sat Arlene, Eliza, Tom, and Taylor. I thought there would be more people coming. Each looked at her with annoyance. Arlene jumped up and walked over to Riley, with Eliza following close behind. Arlene slapped Riley across the face. Then it was Eliza's turn to smack her hard. What did I do to deserve that?
What?
That's not a part of it.
Bull fucking shit, dude.
It's not a part of it either. Let's continue. You little wench. You were trying to steal our boyfriends earlier when you faked drowning, and even before when Taylor was caressing you and you were enjoying it like an animal in heat. The boy snickered, enjoying the scene. Something splashed through the water, moving fast. Taylor and Tom downed the remainder of their beer and stumbled over to the pool. Bring her here, princesses. Arlene and Eliza drug Riley against her will over to the edge of the pool, where they grabbed a weapon. Please, don't do this. Please, no. Arlene, Eliza, Tom, please don't hurt me. Please stop. Please don't hurt me. Riley's cries had gone unanswered and ignored. Tears streaked her cheek as she fought. They pushed her to Taylor, who pushed Riley to the ground and held her under the water. Yeah, she's laying out backwards and her head's dipped in. Yeah, that's how she's being held. Both chlorine and water rushed up her nose and mouth. Riley's eyes caught only darkness until a bright blue fluorescent light of bubbles came pushing at her. Riley screamed out. Tom stood dazed, waiting for a response. The water moves fast. Excuse me. The water moves fast, releasing rippling waves. They panic. Taylor loses his grip on Riley as she pushes up against him, gasping for air, unable to grip herself on her reality. Suddenly, the water sprays into the air, following her. Holding a bat, Tom swishes it at the water, missing. The mist forms into a boy who flies from the water, knocking Tom down and unconscious. They slid back 10 feet from the pool. This magical boy, yeah, he's riding Tom as if he is a skateboard. Okay, the mental picture there. They slid back 10 feet from the pool. Riley pushes Taylor off of her, turning to glimpse in a boy whose eyes shone a hateful glare as he looked about the room. The boy turned to Taylor and Riley. Arlene and Eliza ran out of the building screaming. Riley jumped up and ran. She had had enough. Taylor picks up the bat, hits the boy, and knocks him off of Tom, then runs after Riley through the school hallways, following her to the science lab. Riley hid under the tables in the dark, not knowing that Taylor followed her. Taylor calmly and quietly sneaks into the dark science lab, closing the door ever so gently as not to inform Riley that he was there. Then Taylor slowly locks the door behind him. Click. Can you hear it? Tiptoeing past the tables, listening to the soft breathing from Riley. He pulled her out from under the table by her arm. She gave him a great fight. His grasp on her flesh, soft, wet flesh, was entirely impossible. Riley let out a panicked scream, trying to get him off. Taylor was drunk and driven by the need to fulfill his wanton desires. Sorry about that noise. He hit Riley a few times to stop her wells of hysterics. Slowly under the door creeps a soft liquid that glistens in the moonlight of the 6th floor science lab. The moon lit up the room through the double-paned windows that led to the teacher's plant balcony. Taylor hits Riley once more, and she turns onto her stomach, trying desperately to crawl away. Taylor wrapped his giant fingers into her wet curls, pulling her head up and back, arching her back beneath him, like a strangled mare. With his other hand, he slid it up her leg beneath her skirt, tugging at her black lace swimsuit bottoms. Riley... Just kidding. Riley grabbed for objects to slide herself away from him, but only tearing out her hair, and the malicious way Taylor was treating Riley was sending a shudder of discomfort through her body. The moon lit up Taylor's face in the panel window. Not realizing what was going on, she pulls once more to escape. Suddenly, dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun. Suddenly, Taylor let loose. Riley crawled to her feet, grasping for the window knob to open the door and leave, not caring if she was to fall and get injured. A huge gasp released behind her. It's more like a just kidding. Someone got hit. Who do you think? Riley was too frightened to turn. She continued to scale the glass for the handle. Still nothing. Then, moving a little bit more to her left, she pinpointed it. Grasping the chilled metal, Riley turned and pulled. The cool fall evening breeze brushed past her wet cheeks, releasing chills up and down her spine, or her skin. She moved farther out of the balcony, skirting small trees and flower pots. Excuse me. Do I want this to be remembered? Do I want to reread all the shit? No, I don't. Okay, let's go on. Leaves flipped up the street in front of the 200-year-old building, reaching the banister. Riley stopped to formulate a plan. A small vibration echoed beneath her feet. Riley felt a light tap on her lower spine. She turned to face a young Asian boy around her age with tousled black wet hair that shimmered in a messy kind of way. His eyes were a dark sea mist blue, his skin olive. He wasn't entirely as frightening to her as the object that tapped her. A yardstick smeared with blood pointed right at her. Riley jumped back into the railing, whispering hysterically that she didn't do it. She was sorry for the idiots who drug her here. The railing screeched from the excessive weight and a sudden force behind it. Unclenching, Riley tumbled back, falling 6 stories to the grass. She closed her eyes from the brightened haze of the moon, waiting to fall and feel the pain. But they never came. Riley slid her eyes open slowly. A shadow was blocking the moon's haze. It was the boy. He was holding Riley in his arms, and they were in front of the school. Lazy leaves danced in jubilance under all the bare trees. The boy smiled. He was gentle in putting Riley down, making sure she had her balance. She stood looking at the boy in wonder. Pure gratitude and amazement crept from her cherry lips. "Thank you." Then Riley looked up at the balcony where she had fallen. She fell dizzy into open arms of the boy, then was gone into her dream realm of safety. Chapter 3, Mornings of Delirium. The next morning, Riley woke up with a tingling sensation and a morning sun caressing her windowsill, lightly kissing her cheeks. She rolled over to find an empty bed. Some distant memory was egging her to remember, but the ache in her head was preventing her from worrying. She sat up and stretched in wonder at how to get rid of her throbbing headache. She pushed away from the comfort of the blankets and headed for the bathroom, where Riley found a small shower and mirror. She hopped into the shower and waited for the warmth to rush away from the chills of the evening before. Something was missing. She washed away all cares and hydrated herself. After turning off the tap, she reached for the dark towel, rushing to dry her skin and hair. Riley threw on her school uniform. Then she found a blow dryer to quicken her drying process. Riley's hair fell in strawberry blonde Shirley Temple curls around her head. Riley's hair tips were lightly grazing her soft peach-colored skin. Her lashes were dark and her freckles were scattered like stars across the bridge of her nose. Her cheeks were full of vibrant color. Riley's headache was gone. She straightened her Rosemont Peak gray uniform tie, then opened the bathroom door, stepping into the bedroom area. Sitting on the edge of the bed, waiting patiently and silently, was a boy. That he was a boy didn't startle her. The fact that he was the one who saved her the night before was what shocked her. And it wasn't her bed he was sitting on. She glanced around and found that she was in a basement room that had been abandoned for many years now. Riley jumped back and closed the bathroom door quickly, startling even her better judgment. Riley pressed her body against the door, holding herself for a moment to gather her wits. Sliding to the floor, she sat, trying to calm herself and remember all the evening before's incidents. Pieces came to her, little by little. The light flickered as a small, insignificant tapping danced across the wood barrier between Riley and the boy. She bit her lip and continued. I'm sorry about last night. I had no part in it. They forced me. If I upset you, I'm truly sorry. Please don't kill me or harm me in any way. A small breeze rattled through the bathroom. Riley jumped up and found the source. The bathroom window was wide open. She rushed to close it, then turned to meet the boy. His huge eyes, deep and dark, so intriguing that one could fall in and never want to leave, only to float there forever in their magnificence. He smiled coyly, undressing her with his eyes. Riley felt uncomfortable as he closed in on her. She was stuck between him and that bathtub. Riley leapt under his open arms, landing by the door. She reached for the knob, trying to pull, but it broke off and she was stuck. Riley rested her head on the wood, trying to think. A hand reached her, turning her toward him. Less than an inch between them, she looked up into his eyes, watching him to concentrate on her cherry lips.
What?
Exactly.
How did I die from dropping 4 fucking feet?
It's not a part of the story. He nudged her back into the door and consumed her with a kiss of passion, making her dizzy and lightheaded. Riley closed her eyes, not moving, but patiently waiting for him to step back. After the tingle of lost anticipation crept from their parting lips, he whispered, I've been waiting to do that since I saw you last night. Riley was bewildered. Her bluish-green eyes half cast. She said, okay. She said it different. She said, okay. Sounds weird when I say it. Riley reached up to caress the back of his head and was surprised he let her get this close. His hair was softer than silk. The boy's hands wandered Riley's body, recording her curves and dips. His chest was molding to her like a warm, muscled pillow. Who are you? His hand stopped as he looked down into Riley's eyes and was pondering the question. Alfred, my love.
Yeah, not much.
Now Riley was freaked. Alfred jumped to saying that he loved her when she barely even knew him at all. Alfred must have known by the tension creeping beneath Riley's skin that she was uncomfortable. Her hands crept away from his hair to rest firmly on his chest. I can't be your love, Alfred. I'm only 17. Alfred stopped to think for a moment and then pushed her up against the door. The heat of his muscles felt great against her slender fingertips. But I need your help. Some dangerous people are after me. My love, what shall I call you if not my love? A frown pursed her lips, through her lips, to a splendid stop before she callously answered. My name, Alfred, is Riley Elena Wylers. He kissed her more vigorously, then whispered ever so gently, Then I shall call you Riley, my love. An exaggerated gasp left her lips as she put her fingers to his closed lips. My name is Riley, that is all, Alfred. He whispered once more, leaving hairs dancing up and down her spine. 'Tis not my Juliet to your Romeo. Age doesn't outrule love, for I have found love in you. Her mind went blank to his alarming puzzlement of words. What was to come next? Riley was stuck before a hard place and a desolate rock that refused to bargain or move graciously. Look, I don't know you or understand what you want from me. This time Alfred released her and moved back. He had no idea how to show her what he needed. Then he himself had no idea on the matter. All he knew was that he was being pursued and cover was what was best wanted. I need to go under cover for a while until the authorities calm their trail on me, so I need to be enrolled at your school and become a student, and I will need your help in all of this. If we succeed, then...
Anywhere that doesn't require the game thinking that 3 feet should kill me.
If we succeed, then I shall protect you from everything. He winked at Riley. It looked better from his face, not mine. Which brought a wry smile to her lips. She wondered how he does that. Very few people were able to bring a smile to her face. He backed up a little bit more, then asked, Do we, dearest Riley, have an accord? Yes, if you mean if we have a deal, then yes. With one smooth swoosh, he came back for another kiss and sealed the deal, while using his fist to pound on the door, releasing a mechanism as it opened. Riley was the first to step into the unfamiliar room. Where are we, Alfred? She turned to find his answer written on his olive-skinned face. In the janitor's quarters. There are 2 or 3 that are abandoned. I think that the headmistress or master of this boarding school thought getting rid of all but one would conserve money so they could put it to good use. No one ever comes in here, so we're safe, I promise. The sun still peeked through the window, lighting up Alfred's face, making it reflect like water for a moment. Then his face went back to normal. What are you, Alfred? His smile dropped to a serious frown. I'm a Waterdweller, one of the high nobility in my community, but I was mistaken to save some sailors at sea. That's when they tricked me and captured me in a jar of some sort. It made it hard to escape. I was only a foolish one to think that all creatures were genuinely trustworthy and full of honor. Riley stepped up closer to Alfred and wiped away a salty tear that sprang from his cheek, threatening more tears. Oh, I don't know what to say. Please don't cry. I cannot stand to see anyone cry. Tell me the rest of the story, please, Alfred. Riley reached up to wipe away Alfred's solitary tear. His hand swished up to grasp onto her wrist, where he held it and caressed it with his fingers in deep thought. Well, I escaped. They never expected me to go completely under the water and wait until the tank cleaners came to suck out the filth. I hid in his water pack until he reached a dumping area where he dropped the filthy water, releasing me. I traveled through miles of pipes until I came out of the shower head of the men's restroom in your school. By then it was dawn and I needed a place to rest, so I snuck into your school pool where I took a nap but was awakened by kids playing. I saw you relaxing in the morning sun. That's when I decided to come and rest next to you. I was almost asleep when that boy came up and started hassling you. I saw that no one was going to step in and help, so I pulled him into the water but underestimated him as he grabbed for you. Then the other boy jumped in to help. You were dizzy and full of water, so as soon as they released you from the pool, I let go of the other boy. He had shock and paranoia written all over his face. I ignored his reaction and not care about what was going on. Until later, I saw you rush from the substitute's office, frazzled and angry. That's when I really got to see you for the first time in a long time. After lying dormant in the pool for a few more hours, then I heard a drunken riot coming from those idiots. When I saw what they were doing to you, then I got angry, and so there is my story. Riley closed her eyes to think about all the misfortune her day had taken. Then she opened them again to face Alfred. Alfred, how did you get into the bathroom when the door was locked? I sprayed like mist through the bathroom vent that connects to this room. What about last night when I fell 6 stories from the science lab laboratory balcony? Alfred smiled. Well, I leapt for you and spun you in a complete circle until we landed softly on the grass. I couldn't help looking into your serene eyes when we landed, Riley asked. Alfred, one more question. How did I get here? It was obvious that she might have answered before him, but she let him answer first. I carried you here and placed you comfortably on the bed until you woke up this morning to take a shower. Your head must have been really groggy because you passed me without even one slight alarm, so I sat patiently and waited for you to be done. But when you had gathered parts of your wits, then I worried that you would escape and never return, so I used some of my powers to throw open the window so you wouldn't see me enter, because I know how shocking it would be to have been if you had seen me morph. Feeling lightheaded, Riley decided to sit down, not caring where. Oh, I see. Alfred pulled up an old chair and sat next to her as she rested for a moment on the bed. I need to get to my living quarters in order to help get the information and hack in a made-up file for you. Alfred threw a blazing smile and helped her to her room. They walked in silence for a few minutes, not caring to ruin the moment. Room 3B stood tall in front of them. Riley tucked the key into the hole and spun a few good times to release the locking mechanism. Her room was darker than usual since she never made it home last night in order to open the curtains for the morning sunrise.
Landed up here.
Alfred sat on the bed patiently while Riley parted the curtains to spill some glorious light into the muskiness. Where she finally realized that the uniform she was wearing was not her own, she took it off and replaced it with her own. Ah, there we go. Now all I need to do is find my computer. Alfred gave Riley a puzzling look as she leapt to the side of the desk and found it sitting in one corner, slunked into the wastebasket. Yahoo! I found it! It must have fallen into the wastebasket by accident last evening. She flipped it open and sat it on her lap as she hacked into the school's mainframe to access the records, creating a file from scratch. Now, Alfred, no one's going to buy your story if we don't create a name that fits you best. So, is it alright if I add Vigo Lee to your file birth name? He smiled at her. Do what you must, Riley. I do want to fit in, and if that's what it takes, then yes, Vigo Lee is fine. Although I would love it if in private you still called me Alfred. She smiled up at him. Okay, Alfred. Riley continued to add in preferences, making his IQ scores phenomenal, and his grades worth attending the prestigious boarding academy of Miss Elkers. Riley smiled at her amazing skills. She pressed send, feeling like her idol Felicity Smoke from CW's Arrow would be proud of her. Alfred was almost ready to go to the campus with Riley. All that she needed now was some clothes for him. Alfred, let's go shopping. He gave a quizzical look. What is shopping, Riley? His innocent question made her snicker on the inside. Riley grabbed his hand and led him out of the building toward her 1967 Chevy Impala, with a black exterior and an oak interior. A tiny white line kissed both sides of her car, slithering across all 4 doors. Alfred jumped in and was all kinds of excited. This, Alfred, is my black beauty. Now buckle up and we'll head He smiled at her, expecting the unexpected and getting a whole lot of Hemi horsepower. Riley turned on her radio and began to listen. So What by 3 Days Grace. Soon Riley and Alfred pulled up into the parking lot near where they were going to shop. In bright neon lime green, flashing red, reading the Bakery Pavilion. Riley turned in her seat to Alfred. I know it sounds like a bakery, but it's actually a shop for the latest fashion trends. They got out of the car and walked over to the store. Now, come here and let me see what we must get you into. Riley bought Alfred a lot of dark clothes and a couple of school uniforms. Riley straightened Alfred's gray tie as he tossed on his black Armani leather jacket and covered his deep ocean blue eyes with a pair of slick black raised bands. Riley stood mesmerized as she never saw anyone look as sexalicious as Alfred looked at this very moment. He was burned into her memory and into her heart. She had to catch her breath. Alfred was ready for his first day of school. Rosemont Peak Boarding Academy felt odd this morning as Riley and Alfred started toward it from behind the parking lot. Now remember, Alfred, your name is Vigo Lihan. You're a transfer student from Beijing, China. Here's your schedule and good luck. She lightly kissed him on the cheek and departed, leaving him standing there. Riley was almost to the door. All seemed quiet as she reached for the knob. She turned to say, "See you in first period," but Alfred was gone. No worries, she thought. Riley was greeted by a mob of people. The first two were Arlene and Eliza, hugging her as if nothing were terribly wrong. "What's wrong, you two?" "Oh, last night we drank too much and couldn't remember what had happened, and we were frightened." Riley looked at them in a sympathetic kind of way. "It's all right." Then after Arlene and Eliza left her, she rushed to the sound of the bell. Quickly, Riley changed into her swimming suit and t-shirt. With her lavender towel wrapped around her waist, she sat on the bleachers waiting for class to settle down and start. That is the end of this chapter, because I'm getting a little tired. We will start chapter 4 tomorrow, alright? And I love you guys. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow for tomorrow's chapter 4. Bye.